You're tired of climbing and feeling like your grip is giving out on you. And what is the solution? Well, many climbers may suggest hangboarding. Today we're going to talk about hangboarding to improve your grip strength and grip endurance. I actually have a special treat. I reached out to someone that you may know if you've been subscribed to this channel for long, Horst. He's also the author of Training for Climbing. He does a fantastic podcast. You may also know his brand Vantage that has a bunch of products specific for climbing training.
When it comes to hangboard training, I'm not a fan of true beginner climbers hanging around on a hangboard. It is quite stressful and obviously very focused, and there's injury concerns. And, when somebody is new to climbing, they just need to learn to climb. They need to learn to move over the rock walls, or if they're outdoors, move over stone, and develop technique and the mental skills. And they will naturally develop finger strength and finger endurance, at least to a point. And so, the first year, I don't advise any hardcore training. Mainly go climbing a few days per week in the gym. Once you have kind of learned the ropes and are feeling more comfortable on middle grade routes, that is kind of the time where you can begin to introduce some more climbing specific training, push you into the higher grades.
If you are among the climbers that haven't experienced that year yet, so you may not want to do hangboarding, I actually made a video for increasing your grip strength without a hangboard. So go ahead and check that out.
Let's first talk about strength training on a hangboard, developing finger flexor muscle strength. And then we'll also talk about endurance training, because they're really two different things. Strength is how small of a hold can you grip and how hard can you pull, what percentage of your body weight can you support on your fingertips. Whereas endurance, in your finger flexor muscles is more about when you're repeatedly gripping the rock wall or the rock outside over and over and over for several minutes in a row as you ascend a route. That's where you're more calling on endurance, the ability for the muscles to grip at a lower percentage of your peak finger force or carry less of your body weight, but do so longer. When it comes to strength training on a fingerboard for beginners, a 12-second hang on that 20-millimeter edge or on that 3-finger drag pocket or open hand grip. 12 seconds should be about your limit, and then rest 3 minutes, and then do another 12-second hang and rest 3 minutes, and then do another 12-second hang and rest 3 minutes. And it should be difficult. If it's not difficult, use a smaller hold or add a little weight around your waist or hang 10 or 20 pounds from your harness, enough to make it difficult to hang for 12 seconds. If you can hang on the hold longer than that, then you're moving more into the range of training endurance. And in terms of the holds to use, first of all, you want to introduce yourself to hangboard training by grabbing some of the bigger holds, ones that are easier to latch onto. As you become comfortable hanging on them, you might start to move to like 3-finger pockets or maybe even deep 2-finger pocket grips. In terms of edge size, I'm a big fan of edges that are about as deep as the first pad of your finger. So for most people, that's around 20 millimeters or maybe 25 millimeters or, 3/4 of an inch to an inch in depth. That's kind of the ideal size edge to begin doing hangs on. Now that might be easy if you're naturally strong. So you could then try an 18-millimeter edge or a 1/2-inch edge. But the smaller the edges, quickly the intensity escalates, and also quickly the stress on your finger tendon pulleys increases when you go to smaller and smaller edges. And so that, again, is something you want to ease into and be careful you don't tempt injury. As you gain strength, you may need to use smaller holds. You may need to increase the weight a little bit that you're hanging on your body. You can also begin to add some additional hangs. So maybe over the course of 6 to 12 months, you might increase up to 6 12-second hangs. When you're doing 6 hangs, you might want to vary the grip a little bit. Maybe do 3 of the hangs at what we call a half crimp grip. So you're not crimping with your thumb locked, and then do a few more hangs in kind of the open hand, 3-finger drag or 2-finger pocket or sloper grip. Build up to 6 sets total. And that's a really good program. Now, anytime you feel something weird, let go, whether you're climbing or hangboarding, and assess the situation. And was it just something passing, or is it something that's getting aggravated, that's being provoked by what you're doing? And if so, you need to dial things back or maybe take a few days off, because you get a bad finger injury, you could be out of the sport for months potentially. So it's best to kind of be cautious and ramp up your fingerboard training very gradually. Endurance training is about avoiding failure and doing these series of repeated hangs that are submaximal and that, kind of simulate how you would be climbing on the wall, except you're using a hangboard. This is something you could do if you can only get to the gym a couple days per week. You could do these endurance sessions at home and get a similar kind of workout that kind of mimics climbing on the wall. The protocol that I recommend for beginners, intermediates, and even advanced that I do is a 7-3 repeater protocol. And the 7 is 7 seconds of hanging and then 3 seconds of recovery. And then you're right back on the hangboard again for 7 seconds. And you do that 6 times in a row. And so it's very easy to track because 7 plus 3 is 10 times 6 is 60 seconds. So it's a nice 1 minute set of hangs. And then you do a 1 minute rest and then you do another, 1 minute set of repeaters. And you can do this maybe 5 sets in a row to begin. Yeah, that's a pretty good workout for a beginner. And then over time, you can actually build up to 10 sets, perhaps even more, which will begin to mimic like a longer climb, a much higher climb, climbing and resting as you normally do when you're on a rope route. In terms of resistance, you need to experiment a little bit and find a hold that doing those 6-7 second hangs with only 3 seconds rest is difficult, but you don't fail before you get to the end of the minute. In fact, you don't want to fail at the end even. You want to kind of just squeak through the 6 hangs, maybe with only 10% left in the gas tank, let's say. And in terms of the holds, they should be comfortable. You don't want to use little crimps that are sharp because your fingertips will wear. Probably want to avoid pockets that are stressful, that you're not likely to even make it through the 1 minute set. 20 millimeter edges and even bigger, 30, 40 millimeter edges, or even open hand slopers where you have like a couple of inches of your fingers on a sloper. Many beginners will need to perhaps even remove some weight from their body, 30 pounds onto a skinny rope that runs through a pulley that's mounted under the hangboard. And then that rope clips onto your belay loop of your harness and actually lifts up on you. So if you have a 30-pound counterweight system, and let's say you weigh 130 pounds, well, then you'd only be suspending 100 pounds because the pulley system's taking off the other 30. And you can adjust it over time, adjust the weights, and you can see progression. Maybe a year from now, you won't need the 30-pound counterweight. Maybe you'll be using the same 20 millimeter edge and doing the repeater sets at body weight, which would be awesome. I'm a big fan of beginner climbers or beginner to intermediate climbers limiting their climbing time to 3 or 4 days per week. Tendons are being exposed to something new that you haven't done before in life. If you're somewhat new to climbing, some people might have the desire to go to the gym 7 days per week. You could do some other types of training that aren't so focused on the fingers on those other days of the week, to help you gain fitness and conditioning. But in terms of the really stressful stuff, like when you go and boulder at your limit or get on a rope and climb near your limit or get on a hangboard and hang near your limit, those types of limit activities, 3 to 4 days per week. What you should probably do is, do your warm up and do your climbing and then end your climbing session a little early, maybe 15 minutes earlier than you normally would, do a few less boulders than you might want to do, and then go do your hangboard. And the benefit of that way is you're really well warmed up because you've already done your climbing, so your tendons and ligaments are well lubricated and more compliant and less prone to injury because you've gone through that warm-up process. And you could do your other training. You could do some pull-ups and some core training during those 3-minute rests. So you can have a really effective end to your workout that way by kind of grouping together a handful of exercises that you kind of go through and have a routine.
Now you know how to hangboard for strength training and endurance training. Thank you, Eric, so much for doing this video with me. I always learn so much when we talk together, and I enjoy sharing the info with everyone. If you like this video, be sure to check out the mini-series Eric and I did together about caring for your tendons. And if you want to continue learning with Eric, check out his website and book, Training for Climbing, as well as his company, PhysiVantage, for training resources and products. I also created a video about mistakes climbers make when training grip strength that may interest you. The link is in the description. Thank you for watching, be safe, and have fun climbing.